G'day everyone, welcome to Marc and Cars Porsche Talk, the podcast where we talk about all things Porsche. If you love air-cooled, water-cooled, rear-engine, front-engine, even mid-engine, there'll be something here for you, but most importantly, we'll talk to people who are as passionate about our favourite brand as we are. I'm your host, Marc Sheriff from the YouTube channel, Marc and Cars. Thanks for taking the time to support this channel and the podcast. Feel free to share any input, suggestions, ideas, comments, reviews. Just send me a boring old email if that's all you've got. You'll find me on most social medias, Marc and Cars. Before we get into it though, let me talk about my channel sponsors, Bowden's Own. They're an Australian-made premium car care product manufacturer. I use them, love them. They make my little red car very shiny. Just Google Bowden's Own, or if you're an Australian listener, drop into your local auto car care store. Also, Rec Watches. They're a Danish watch company that design and manufacture watches with an automotive theme. The watch I wear is called a 901. It's made out of recycled 911 parts. Amazing. The attention to detail is incredible, great movement, etc. Check them out, Rec Watches. Today, our guest is James, auto amateur, 911 nutcase, bit of a sympathiser to water-cooled cars, but you know what? We're going to talk to him anyway. G'day, James. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Marc. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. Tell me, what's been going on in your life?
Well, can we just start by saying I want one of those watches? They're made of recycled 911 parts.
Hang on. I'm going to look for viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Have a look at the attention to detail. Look at that Fuchs machined back end of it. Look, how about the disc brake rotor, automatic movement, and that's the VIN number. That the great part of this car is actually made from the panels of a 911.
No way.
It's a cracker, and they're a fantastic group of enthusiastic guys. And you know what? If you're a car nut, even if you're not a Porsche nut, they make them out of Mini parts, Jaguar parts.
No way.
You know what? If you're an aeroplane enthusiast, they even do a model that's made out of recycled Spitfire parts.
Wow.
Now,
that's awesome.
As a nutcase, POM / that means Englishman for anyone that's not Australian, right? You guys, Spitfire. Ooh, I better have one of those.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it is an amazing watch, and it's pretty. I quite like it.
It is.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to be on your podcast. I've been following you on YouTube, and you've got such a gorgeous car there sat behind you. Are you in your garage right now? Is that right? Presumably,
yeah, of course.
It has to be.
Yeah, here it is. Here again for viewers, for those 3 viewers that have ever watched my channel that haven't seen it. There it is. There, bit of garage
so good.
art. Hang on. More importantly, the wife's bike. Okay. But I'm in my garage. It's 9 o'clock in the evening on a Friday night here, and it's 8 a.m. there.
It's just after 8 a.m. here in Minneapolis, which is sort of in the middle of the country to the north for anyone who doesn't know. Sounds
alarmingly cold this time of the year, James.
No, it's getting hot. It was like at least 65 degrees this morning, which is hot for me, which is for you Aussies, that's like low 20s, maybe mid 20s.
So about the same as here in winter. Yeah, nice.
And so you're in Western Australia. Does that put you in Perth?
It is, yes. I'm in Perth, and look, I'm not originally from Perth, and if you're not born here, you will never be Western Australian. Believe me, it's that type of town. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. But it's a great place to live. I've been here for 30 years, actually 31 years this year, and I'm not going back. Life's pretty good here,
Yeah. One of my best friends lives in Perth with her husband and 2 kids. And she's invited me out there a bunch of times. But when I look at the flights and it's the most remote city on the planet, isn't it?
Yeah, most remote capital city. That's correct. And look forward to you coming, because I'll tell you, once you do come, it won't be the only time you ever do.
That's fantastic.
To give you an idea, I think it was 25, 26 degrees Celsius here today, and it's May. So life is okay here for us.
That's way too hot for
not ideal not ideal in an air-cooled car that doesn't have air conditioning. I will say that in summertime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you put your windows down and you get the speed up, you'll be fine.
Yeah, look, that goes okay, but not a lot. It's not a great convertible town because you just get especially with my hairline here, you do get your copper belting, of the roofs down. Not that my 356 has a convertible top. So tell us about your channel. What do you? I follow you obviously on social media. That's how we've gotten together, and
yeah.
I can't even imagine how many times you and I have postponed this podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for being patient with me. What with, everything just going on over here professionally and personally, and then my baby girl arriving 2 weeks ago. It's been like pretty hectic. I started auto amateur on YouTube about 4.5, maybe 5 years ago when I first bought my first ever Porsche. It was a 996.
Yeah.
And I got into YouTube a little bit just prior to that with a Jeep Grand Cherokee as I was thinking about taking it off-road. And there were loads of videos on YouTube about people, especially in the western side of the US, off-roading in their Grand Cherokees and their Wranglers and so on.
Sure.
So I got a bit of interest in YouTube, got a little bit of interest in sort of the automotive videos. And then when I had my own 996 and I first took it in for an oil change and they charged me like $250, I thought that's ridiculous. I pay $50 for an oil change in my Jeep and I'm paying $250 for my Porsche. I'm going to figure out how to do that myself.
How's that panned out for you?
Say that again?
How has that turned out for you?
Oil, like doing oil changes myself, it is so much fun. It's awesome. It was a bit nerve-wracking the first time. I've done it maybe a dozen times now. But I found DIY videos on YouTube and they were pretty good, but they were a bit basic. And I thought, I'm just going to do one. And then that sort of snowballed into another DIY video and another. And then I met a few friends in the Twin Cities here who started wanting to go for drives. So I thought, I'm going to video a drive. And it kind of just, grew organically from there.
Yeah, great.
And now
I do enjoy your videos. Look, in all reality, and please don't take this offensively, you're about as good on the spanners as I am, right? So for me, it's like a normal guy. Yeah, I'm going to buy scissors. I'm going to have a go at this. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm listening to a mechanic do it who has done it 35 times, So I do enjoy your DIY videos. They're good fun,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get a lot of feedback.
I don't have time to watch all of them because I don't think anyone does, but I'm sure, like I recently changed the exhaust on my 356.
Mm-hmm.
The number of things that came up were excruciating. And I thought, if I'd have videoed this would have been a 17-hour video for a 2-hour job.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had those types of experiences.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think the one that sort of accelerated the growth of my YouTube channel from maybe 500 viewers to a couple of thousand was an airbag or a steering wheel change video I was trying to do with my 997.
Okay. And, did you go to the modern flappity pedals type steering wheel?
No, I didn't do that, but I wanted to get away from the triangular airbag that was in standard first gen, and I wanted to go to the second gen round airbag GTS steering wheel.
Sure.
And I thought this is going to be a great. I thought it was going to be a great video, and everything was going perfectly well. It took me like an hour and a half to get the wheel off, to get the new wheel on, to film it, to talk, and I was feeling super confident. And then right in the last minute, when I turned the engine on, the horn just kept on blasting. And
did you film that
just
part
wouldn't
of it?
stop. Yeah, and it was all part of the video. It wouldn't stop. And at this point, I thought, maybe I've just pushed it in too far. I couldn't get the airbag out of the wheel. Perfect. It got trapped. The wiring harness wasn't in properly. It got trapped by the side of the drum. Long story short, 5 hours later, it's close to midnight. I am at my wit's end, and I make a decision to take a knife and stab and cut the front of my airbag off in an effort to get it out. Because I figure I'm going to either lose this $400 airbag or I'm going to lose this $1,200 steering wheel.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose both.
Yeah.
As it turns out, it was pretty easy to take out, but I just got myself into that moment of panic and frustration. And
we've all been there. We've all been there, my friend.
So I took a knife and actually for the Facebook 997 retrofit page for about a year, their photo on Facebook was the interior of my lovely tan 997 with a massive camping knife stuck out of the airbag.
Classic. What a great shot, eh?
Yeah. But, 3 or 4 years later, I still get people commenting while I'm doing DIY videos being like, don't get your knife out. Calm down.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic. So tell us, we've all been living in a pandemic that lacks travel. How's life been there in Minneapolis?
I think, quite honestly, for me, it's been great personally, because prior to the pandemic, I was sort of traveling 2 or 3 states every week with my job, away from home. And my kids were getting to the age where they would notice, if I was gone for a few days.
Sure.
So for me personally, being at home, it's fantastic. I love it. My wife, who's a huge extrovert, she's an actress and an entertainer, and she sort of thrives from going to shows and doing gigs and, that whole lifestyle. Mm-hmm. She's going up the walls where I'm just like,
sure,
we're going to stay at home for another 6 months. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 Look, we've been pretty fortunate here in Perth. We've only had 3 weeks of lockdown across.
Yeah.
I don't how long, 14 months, 15 months of the COVID period. So we're very fortunate here, but the travel has stopped. Western Australia be the way it is. The state government here, we've got some interesting tiers of government here in Australia. It's not worth going into in this video, but nonetheless, we've pretty much locked everyone out and everyone has to stay in. That was the case for about a year. And, sure, it's had its benefits and its negatives, but prior to COVID, I was traveling once every 3 weeks for a week, just because of my grown-ups job, not this what I'm doing now. And as a result, my daughter, like you, my daughter's getting older and dad's away, plays up for mum, gets home, is then angelic, and my daughter's going, and my wife's going, hang on, what happened to the demon spawn that was there before? So the whole thing has been good the last 12 months for me also. It's been a good time. But in all reality, missed a lot of amazing automotive events. I had a lot of some amazing, it would have been the year, 2020 would have been the year that my YouTube channel would have hopefully gone to the next level, because I had something like, I think it was 14 overseas trips booked and paid for Porsche focused events. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Around the world, so it would have going to be a cracker year, but bang, in comes COVID, and look, those opportunities will present themselves again. But to look at, I was, prior to our meeting this evening, I was looking at my calendar and going, I didn't get to go to that. No, I didn't go to that. No, I didn't go to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one went to that. So, it's not like I was the only one that missed out. It was everyone for these events,
Yeah.
But, those opportunities will present themselves again in the future. I'm sure it'll be a cracker of a, and it's just putting those things off.
Yeah, totally. In the past year, I missed just maybe 2 or 3 events. I was fortunate enough to get myself a press pass to SEMA. And that would have been good fun. No, it would have been so much fun. And I missed an organized trip to the Tail of the Dragon with the Rennsport Dragon Rally crew.
Oh, yeah, that would have been terrible. You're lucky you didn't go to that one. Yeah.
I know, right? 200 or 300 Porsches.
I can imagine, Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, so I didn't get to do that, unfortunately. Maybe this fall when we're out there. But people have had to sort of just adapt and figure out something else. I think in many ways, people have found a new kind of, they've been finding new outlets creatively, they've had to. And, you see the joke over here, the family's learning how to make sourdough bread. Got nothing else to do.
The sour bit actually the facial expression of parents.
What would it have been?
The sour part of sourdough is a facial expression of parents. It's interesting you say about the press pass, because the real trigger for COVID here for us was I had a FIA F1 press pass for Melbourne, Australian Formula One Grand Prix.
Yeah, wow.
And 2020, right? And I was at Perth Airport. I was literally in line to board the aircraft, I get a phone call from the media centre saying, we're going to announce in the morning that the event is cancelled.
Oh,
don't get on the plane if you're not here yet. And I said, I'm not getting on the plane. So it was an overnight flight because of our time difference, like the LA, New York, red eye thing. I'm sure it's the same, right?
Yeah, Australia is massive.
Yeah. So it's the same sort of thing. So I get on, so I thought, I'm not getting on the plane. Get to the front of the line. You better get my luggage off. I'm not getting on this plane. I'm not going to Melbourne if this F1's not on. So that was actually the start of COVID for Australia, essentially, So, so the media thing and, I had some great media passes lined up for that whole year. I was going to, I had a media pass for Luftkegel.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And, and that was all done and paid for and had events in New Zealand and Japan and all these. But, their future experiences that are yet to come that I can't wait for, that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
We can all get on an airplane again.
Did you see the pandemic coming? Like for me as a dad with a couple of young kids, I'm not as close to the news as I used to be.
Sure.
Because in the morning I can't turn the news on because we're watching cartoons, whatever.
You did that as a kid as well, but now you're an adult. You've missed out on that whole thing that the rest of us do.
I know, right. Well, my last trip before the pandemic was I did a job out in Maui in the Hawaiian Islands.
Sure.
And on the way out there, it was normal. I was there for like a week. On the way back, I suddenly noticed everyone wearing masks and people sitting down around me on the airplane, getting out massive bottles of hand sanitizer and wiping down everything. And I was just thinking, what's going on? And what's happening?
Classic. Yeah.
Because I'd heard about COVID and I thought, it's just another swine flu. It's not going to be that bad.
Something to do with someone eating bats, putting them in kebabs or dim sims or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that. I don't know. But I was just looking around thinking, I kind of feel like I'm in one of those horror movies where everyone knows that the zombies are coming and I don't,
Classic.
Look, and that was it. That was my last trip.
Yeah, sure. Look, I spend about 20 minutes in the car to get to work each day. And I listen to our national broadcasters' news report on podcasts in the car on Android Auto type thing. So, I was relatively up to speed with what was coming down the chute, but regardless, it's it's all upside down. None of us are unique on that front. Now, I watched some of your YouTube videos that didn't involve you, spanner, under the car, road trip, tail of the dragon, even though you didn't get to go to Rensport. Yeah,
that was amazing. That was so much fun. A couple of years ago.
Dad of the year. How did you get out of jail on this one? How was this even permitted?
I'm a good dad.
She doesn't know yet. You thought you were at work? Listen, for listeners, he just did the whole shh thing. Okay.
That's right. Like just Marc, no, my wife Ruthie and I have got a very balanced relationship because
fantastic. That's great to hear.
She likes to go out more than I do, basically. So I get to put the sort of the gold stars in the bank and cash them in every now and again.
Nice, yeah.
So it's quite often me doing bedtime and me sort of like saying, "Oh yeah, honey, you want to go out and just like drop of a hat, go and do shopping or hang out with some friends? Sure, go for it. I'll happily stay at home and watch action movies on the couch instead of HGTV." Yeah. So I was able to cash in quite a few coins there that I'd collected over the year.
Yeah, that would have been some considerable credit needed in the bank to withdraw. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So, I'm not doing any road trips for a while.
Yeah. Not till next week anyway. Yeah. Okay.
At least, yeah. No, I mean, maybe September, October. But I'd been to the Tail of the Dragon a couple of years before. I was wanting to I think having been home so long, I wanted to get away and do something. I didn't want to get on a plane, wanted to make some videos, got in touch with a YouTuber friend of mine, Jay Reed from the Jay Reed Car Channel, another Brit living in the States. He's a 996 driver on the East Coast. Sure. And we've sort of kicked around the idea of driving somewhere in the middle of the country and making a few videos over a day. We had kind of two choices, really. One was Detroit, and the second was Tail of the Dragon. And
Detroit's too close to you, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of in the middle, but there isn't really a lot around there. You want to go see the Lions play? There are no mountains. There's a lake. Tail of the Dragon. Yeah, let's do that. And then Jay threw in the idea of going to the Porsche Experience Center in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I was down. 3,000 miles driven in 4 days.
Shame about that rain on that day.
I know.
I was watching it going, oh man, I would have stayed the extra day waiting for the dry day.
I know. But you know what? I'm a Brit. We're used to the rain. I was like, it's just an average day. No worries.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. How long you lived in the US?
The first time I came over here on a job for a couple of years in the early 2000s, but I've lived here now full time, just over 10 years.
Yeah, okay. Is your wife from the UK?
No, my wife's actually here from Minnesota originally. We met in New York City. She was there doing the whole singing, dancing Broadway thing, and I was doing a contract in downtown Manhattan. We met on Match.com. We would never have met in a million years if it wasn't for Match.com.
Sure.
Brit corporate guy, actress, entertainment lady from Midtown. We would never have met.
Yeah, but you know what? Those sort of opposites are perfect for each other, aren't they?
They make for a lot of interesting conversations, fun, occasional arguments. You know how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. And so tell me, with regards to, you went down to Tail of the Dragon with your mate, drove your cars, had a cracker of a time. It's like, it's a fair slog down that far from your place, because the US loves to have a town every, 2 miles? Right, all the way. So you don't actually get a good run, right? So unlike Australia, where we have a town every 160 miles,
Yeah.
Must have been a 15-hour drive or something, or a 12-hour drive. I'm guessing here. I don't know.
It was. Yeah. So the first time I did it, we did it in one go, and that was 17 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was supposed to be 14 hours, but we were in a big group, and everybody wanted to stop at different times.
Happen. Yeah.
Yeah, this time round, I broke it up. I stopped over at night in Indianapolis, which is sort of halfway along.
Yeah, sure.
So we did 8 hours, and then 6 hours, day after day.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun. I did the first leg of the trip with a friend of mine from the Twin Cities here, Patrick. He drives his 997, and then we picked up another guy in his GT3, Jeremy, from Indianapolis. So every day was a little different. And
nice one.
It was fine. And, we're on the walkie-talkies as well while we're driving.
Yeah, so Yep. That does it makes the drive a lot more entertaining.
Yeah, the banter's fun. I don't have to listen to my iPod endlessly and all the songs that I haven't changed in about 20 years.
Yeah. Interesting you say that, because back in the late 80s, that's right, that is a decade for the young listeners of the podcast. I had a friend, and we rode our motorcycles from Sydney to Melbourne for a long weekend type thing.
Okay.
To give you some perspective, it's about 800 kilometers. What's that? 500 miles, right? And
a little more, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. So we had voice-activated microphones in our helmets, so we could talk to each other while we were riding.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's good fun until they're voice-activated. So when you start talking, the other person can't talk, right?
Yeah.
Until the person I was traveling with thought it'd be great to sing Bohemian Rhapsody back to back himself for 2.5 hours. And it's always stuck with me, that whole walkie-talkie, but voice activated, so you can't interrupt them. It's just they keep the line open the whole time.
I would have driven alongside him and slapped him on the head.
But, it's just one of those traveling trip laughs, to look back on when you're older and that type of thing.
What a chopper.
Yeah.
That's
what a crack.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny. Hey, are you involved in the Porsche club in your region?
I am. I sort of felt like I had to join when I got a Porsche. It was the thing to do.
Sure.
I got a Porsche. Hey, there's a Porsche Club of America. I'm going to join it. It's going to be awesome. I joined it. I got the sticker, put it in my car. And, for the first year or so, I I went to one or two events, but quite honestly, it wasn't really my scene,
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
The people I met were very nice, but it was just, sort of standing around, chit-chatting. I wanted to get out and drive, I didn't want to have a technical discussion or felt like I was at a lecture, because I wanted to get out and have a bit of fun, and they didn't do too much driving. The only organized driving events they did, would cost you major coin if you wanted to go, for a weekend away to a track.
Sure. Yep.
So a bunch of us kind of broke off and just decided to make our own little Facebook group.
I get it.
Friday afternoon, hey, anybody free? Want to go for a drive?
Theme that you hear among Porsche enthusiasts. What are you talking about here?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think, probably a good dozen or so of my friends here are hardcore Porsche Club of America members, and it's great. And, we've got great friendships and so on.
Yep.
And then there's like another couple of dozen or more, even though we've got like 300 people in our group. But, probably 20, 30 people that get together every couple of weeks on a Sunday morning, go out for a drive. Pre-pandemic, we'd go and get breakfast, then go for a drive or what have you. So I kind of, bridge both worlds. I try and stay involved in PCA. It doesn't feel like an obligation, but it's not quite as fluid and dynamic. And, these days with everybody working around the clock, it's hard to be anything other than, reactive and fluid. Yeah.
The reason I ask is because personally I found I'm a member of the local Porsche club here in Western Australia. In the last, 3 or 4 years ago, I was even a committee member. But I found that if you want to get on the track, there's someone else willing to organise the whole thing so you can actually track your car. Tell me, do you track your car?
I have never tracked my car, and I haven't yet. But having driven the GT3 and the Turbo S around the track of the Porsche Center of Atlanta, or whatever it was called, the Experience Center, I'm keen. I kind of want to do it. Yeah, I want to do it.
Sure. I did a podcast probably going back a couple of months ago now with Lee Sibley, who you do know Lee. He's been in one of your.
I know Lee really well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we spoke about tracking cars. I have very limited experience, right? And I said, I mentioned to him that if I wanted to track cars regularly, I would probably buy a track car, which is significantly cheaper than buying a road car. With less compromises on the track, and trailer it there and drive it, which, he threw up in his mouth, right? And suggested that, if you buy a Porsche, that's what they're for, to drive the track, drive home type thing. And but again, since then, I look at people that have put too much money into their own cars and have pretty much made them singularly track cars.
Yeah.
It still appeals to me a lot to buy a track-focused car that I just put on a trailer. And you know what? If I do prang the thing, I'll just put it back on the trailer and take it home, rather than how am I going to get home tonight?
Yeah. I think for me, I think I think I would just want to use my own car.
Sure.
And the reason I would want to use my own car is because I work on it. I've modified it. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, I get it.
I want to get it on the road as well as the track and feel the difference between each. I've got friends that have track cars and daily drivers, and that's fine too. But I think it would be the one car for me. The thing that I am worried about with tracking is that a couple of my friends have gone tracking for the first time. And like one of my friends, Ben, he was in love with this Cayman 981 in whatever the kind of like nice color blue was available, like aqua blue or whatever at the time. And it was a gorgeous car. He loved it. He went tracking, and within a month later, he moved himself up to a second generation 991 with, tuned engine and an extra couple of 100 horses. And it was all because of the track. He was just, I want to go faster. I need to go faster.
And you're concerned your marriage won't sustain that type of enthusiasm?
Mate, 100%.
Look, I empathise with what you're talking about. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. Yep. And
I've had I've had 4 911s in 5 years, and I currently own 2. I've got a 996 and I've got a 991. And since driving a GT3 for the first time about 18 months ago, I've got that on my brain, and my wife understands now what a GT3 is. So she knows I can't just like sneak home a different colored car and I'm like, oh yeah, it was a fair exchange. If she sees that wing in the garage, she knows that I put some coin down to upgrade.
You mean that wing you got fitted to your 991?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, look, there is some consolation. Look, I don't know what the vibe is there in the US, right? But here in Australia, it's like a countdown clock to the first man stepping on the moon to 2025, when all those 10-year warranties run out on those motors from the 991 Generation 1 GT3s, when the absolute ass is going to fall out of the resale. You know, like everyone's expecting cars to halve in value because everyone's just going to be too scared because they got this motor that it's like pulling a pin on a hand grenade for a lot of them, you know?
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot of people holding out till 2025 to buy GT3s here. I know that for a fact, you know?
I don't think, and I don't mean to throw my new nation under the bus, I don't think we Americans think that far ahead.
Yeah.
I don't think we're smart enough. I know so many people that
consider them under the bus right now, James.
Really? Okay. They're under the bus. Sorry, guys.
Look, the only consolation you got in this sentence is you said we, like you're inclusive, you know, you're as much of a victim as they are. Yeah.
Yeehaw! No, but you know, I just know I know so many people that they want a GT3, they've gone and bought a GT3, and 6 months later they've traded it on because they didn't like it as a daily. So
fair enough.
You know,
it's not a daily car, let's face it.
I think the sensible car enthusiasts that see the GT3 as being their dream car, which they'll keep forever, will wait until that moment in time. I think the vast majority of other Porsche owners that can afford to go and buy a brand new GT3 will just go and buy a GT3, and they'll spin it around in a couple of years, and they'll be on to the next thing.
I'm about 1 million views a month away from that.
Oh, I don't know, mate. You're gonna have to create yourself an OnlyFans account or something. I don't know.
So?
Get yourself.
Look, with this face, I'm not convinced I'm necessarily going to get the funding. You know what I mean? To put in my order for the new GT, the 992 GT3. But look, who knows? You know,
who knows? You just
it's going to involve a lot of plastic surgery and a lot of sit-ups. Well, telling me that, you know, I had anticipated asking if you'd been to the Nurburgring, but you just mentioned that, you know, your first experience was at the Porsche Centre. So haven't had the opportunity, obviously, to go to the Nurburgring and, you know, scare the hell out of yourself.
Not as a car enthusiast. I was in the vicinity of the ring as a child, as my folks used to track my brother and I all over the European nations camping. They were both school teachers, and so we had 6 weeks every summer to go camping.
Lovely.
But no, not as a car enthusiast, and I think my head might explode if I go there. But you know, everyone makes such a big deal of that racetrack, and for the right reason. You know, there are loads of other great tracks around the country or around the world that you can get access to. But will they replicate that somewhere else, or will they, create franchises? That might be quite lucrative. Can you imagine one of those smack bang in the desert?
There's a lot of real estate in different places around the world, and there's very few countries the size of Australia as sparsely populated. So how they haven't built something that is 20 k's long and 160 corners just baffles me over here. But
yeah,
I love the idea of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole pay per lap, open road, bring your motorbike, bring your ambulance, bring your helmet, whatever it is, whatever works for you. I just really think that I'm just baffled there's not more demand for a comparable product elsewhere around the world.
Yeah. I can see that argument. At the same time, though, when you factor in just how expensive it is to go to the track, and you might wear your brakes out, you might go through a set of tires, you got to, how many tanks of gas are you going to go through? You got to get race insurance. You got to get car insurance for the track. At least you do over here. A couple of nights in a hotel if it's not on your backyard. I mean, you want to go driving around in circles for a day, it's going to cost you a couple of grand.
Look, I 100% appreciate what you're talking about here, right? But I haven't heard the Nurburgring going broke.
Well, that's true. And I think that's probably because Porsche and Mercedes are propping it up because they test out all of their cars there all the time.
You may very well be right there. Yeah, no doubt about it. Tell me, how do you feel about the performance of the modern Porsches?
I think they keep getting faster and faster, but I think they're getting, and they're obviously getting more powerful, but I feel like they're getting slightly more disconnected from the driver and the road. I think that's my feeling. Having driven a 70s 911S, a 993, and then I've owned the 996, 7, and the 991. I don't know. It's almost like the chair's getting softer, and the suspension's getting softer, and
the owner's getting older.
And the owner's getting older, yeah, exactly, and complaining about, my back.
My back, yeah, I can't get out of this thing. No, but the other reason I ask is I very recently was fortunate enough for Porsche Cars Australia to give me a Taycan Taycan Turbo for a couple of days.
Nice.
So, and I think for me, don't get me wrong, I've driven a number of Teslas. I'm fortunate enough to have been in that situation,
Okay.
But driving the Taycan really, I guess, rung home to me that you can't buy these cars for performance anymore. You've got to buy them for engagement. So
then, for your listeners, what's your definition then? What's the difference between performance and engagement?
Engagement to me is what the vehicle gives back to you for what you put into it. Okay. Performance means pushing down that pedal that's on the right-hand side in your footwell to the bottom until it doesn't go any further, and how far your organs move in your body when you do so.
Right.
Okay. Which is significant in an electric car, whether it is a Tesla or a Taycan Turbo, or a GT3 RS or a GT2 RS, or
right.
And in reality, if you haven't driven a modern sports car, and when I say modern, post say 2000, right, a 5-second car is a very, very fast car, right? When I say 5 second, I mean 0 to 62. Okay,
sure.
But when you're halving those times, it's, you don't need brain cells to make these cars go fast or skill. You just need a heavy right leg, And so before this experience in the Taycan Turbo, I was very much, I guess, horsepower chasing. What's the latest? What's the greatest? What's the fastest? Whatever. But for me, the electric car sort of ruined that enthusiasm. Don't get me wrong. Right. The electric car it has its place. It's an amazing car.
Sure.
Does it need to be as good as it is performance-wise? Probably not. I don't necessarily think it appeals to that purchaser. It doesn't have that engagement. Yeah. To me, right? And so it really brought home to me that if I'm looking for a car for engagement, I've now started looking at much older cars to aspire to, not latest, greatest, fastest, etc. Because they're not. They're just not the fastest. You're sitting at a set of traffic lights in a new, current model GT2 RS, and there is a 17-year-old nanny at the lights next to you with 3 kids in the back, and she thinks, I'm going to hand you your bottom on a plate. She may very well do that. You know what I mean? So as a result, as an enthusiast, it's brought into question to me, that part of it. So, and it's really limited the cars that I aspire to now because of that one single
experience. That's interesting. Yeah. I think, so when I drove the Taycan Turbo, a friend of mine works for Porsche of Minneapolis here. He took me out for a quick ride. My initial reaction was, this is silly. It is just too fast. It's too powerful. Nobody needs a car this fast. Mm-hmm. It's a statement from Porsche to say, we're in the game. We're going to kick everybody else's ass. We're still going to make the fastest cars, the best cars. It was just insane, absolutely insane. And when I drove the 992 Turbo S, which is actually faster than the Taycan Turbo by like a split second.
Not enough for you or I to understand the difference, though. Let's be realistic.
Yeah, but it just too fast, too powerful. And I think I appreciate what you're saying, because to me, the sweet spot for the 911 range in terms of performance and engagement is probably the 997, having owned the 996 and driven a 993.
Sure.
Because it still gives you that sort of analog, raw kind of experience, and you feel the road and you feel connected to the car. Yep. But you've got 300 plus horses, and you've got that 5-second car.
Yep.
The 991 is probably the furthest I might go before I start feeling like, I'm kind of losing the 911 experience here, I think.
Which that's a common theme I'm hearing from people who've bought 991s. For new listeners, that's from like 2012 through to 2019, right? 2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are too efficient. They're too good a GT car, is the common theme I'm hearing from people that daily these cars are going, look, I like getting back in my weekend car, which is 100 horsepower less.
Yeah,
much,
right.
Noisier, less comfortable. I'm more tired after a drive type feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the isolation between driver and experience for 991, from the feedback I've received, I've driven a number of 991s and I think they're amazing cars, but I don't daily drive one. You know what I mean? So, and how when you do the same thing every day, it changes your feel for that.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, So, so I find it fascinating, you particularly as a 991 owner, hearing your response on that feel type thing.
Yeah.
Is yours a PDK or a manual?
It's PDK. Mm-hmm. And my 997 was manual. And I have to say, as much as I love, and I grew up driving manuals in the UK.
Like every POM does. Yep.
Exactly. Every PDK, every time I get in that car and I'm driving the PDK, I get that kind of rush and race car kind of experience, especially when I hear my exhaust like rasp and rattle from gear to gear.
Yep.
I think the naturally aspirated engine as well in the first generation 991 is also a big part of the experience.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Having driven the second generation 991 with the turbocharged, it's awesome. The power delivery is fantastic, but the noise just isn't there, and the personality's changed a little bit. So in many ways, I think my current dream car is the first generation 991 in the GT3. That would just be. Yeah,
sure.
But would I want to daily that every day? I don't know. That might ruin the sparkle.
Not without a kidney belt and a mouth guard. which leads me to, I guess, is the GT3 Touring the perfect compromise?
Yes, it is. It is, but not the 992 version. I'm dreading the 992
How do you know?
version.
They haven't brought it out yet. You can't say that.
Yeah, I can. I'm a Scouser. I can say whatever I want.
And I believe it.
No, I think just like the 911R for the 991.1. The first time they'd released an R in decades. That was a magical special car. The GT3 Touring came out for the first time in the second generation 991. That is a special car. I kind of feel a little bit disappointed that they're going to bring out the touring equivalent of the 992. Even though that might sound silly, I kind of hope they might skip a generation or two, because
sure.
That touring in that spec, that generation at that time, where everybody's going, people like me are putting wings on the back of anything, on the back of my lawnmower just to make it look cooler. Is the pinnacle of the 991 in many ways. Now they're just, it's they're going a bit too Hollywood. It's like, let's bring the sequel in, a year after the first one premiered.
It's interesting you say this, right? I didn't buy a 911R that I was offered at €180,000, right? Yeah, no, don't worry. Look, we all live in regret, okay? We've all had opportunities we've said no to, right? And because a friend of mine, who shall remain unnamed but is based in Switzerland, was offered 3 of them when they were pre-order, okay?
3?
Yeah. Look, it's, like I said, remain unnamed, and I'll give you any more details. It'll give away who he is. And he said, Mark, if you want one of these, I will give you one of my allocation, and they're going to cost you €180,000. I said, they're going nowhere. No one's going to buy those cars. Yeah, it just shows you how smart I am, right? But it was conditional that I had to keep it for 3 years as well. So I couldn't have flipped it in the heyday of 911Rs, obviously, right? I have since driven a 911R, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a big fan of any car that makes me sound like a pirate to describe it. With the R. I'd love, you know what? I'd love to go somewhere like Porsche Cornwall to hear how they describe them.
Oh my God, yeah.
Honestly, it sounds like a YouTube video. Anyone in the UK who's listening to this, you've got to go and do it, right?
Yeah, please go and do it for us right now.
Please, just for us too, right? But all joking aside, amazing motor car. The way you're talking about the GT3 Touring, I would feel that way about 911R, but not necessarily the Touring. I thought the Touring would just be another. It's one of the 27 variants of 911 you could buy.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it, you know. And you know, I don't know. I think
it's okay to be wrong.
So
Mark.
Expensive here in Australia, you know. The Touring are just exorbitant, and like 911Rs are obviously as well. You know, it's a $600,000 car here in Australia, which, but we have different taxes and things, and you know, it's just the way it is. You know, if you want one of those, that's what it costs. So you just got to pay. You know, so there's no hiding from it. And you know what? If you import one from another country because you've lived there for more than 12 months, that's how the laws work. You bring it in, you've still got to pay that same tax the local people had to pay over and above.
Oh, no way! Wow.
Yeah. So you cop it. So there's nowhere to hide from it. You know. So
yeah.
You do get it back when you go to sell it as well. So there's no, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, I know somebody who's in the process of selling his Touring, and he's going to be walking away with thousands and thousands of dollars in his pocket because the values have rocketed. Even people who bought the second generation 991 GT3s, not the RS, not the Touring, they have gone up in value, and they're flipping their cars right now and putting down money for the 992, which they can now afford. You know, because
you know
they've made money on their 991s.
Yeah, that's all good and well, but you know, when you buy and sell in the same market, you don't really make money. You know, you're going to punch it into something else, aren't you? Like you said, the 992 GT3, which woohoo! I made $40,000 on my GT3 991.2. Ooh, I've got to put another 100 in to get the 992. Yeah, okay.
I gave it straight back to Porsche.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that smart all of a sudden, does it? You know?
Yeah, no, it really doesn't. It really doesn't.
Yeah. And I know that you've got a bit on this morning, so I really appreciate you taking the time to.
No worries,
today, James. It's been a great chat, and you know what? We should do this not podcasting again sometime soon because.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't had enough time to crap onto each other about things we're excited about.
Yeah, totally. I've really enjoyed this, Mark. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I understand early in the morning there, young family, you're a genius for being able to get locked into a study with 2 doors, which you obviously need, right, with young kids in the house. Anyway, anyone who's got any comments or anything for this podcast, I'd like to contribute, say anything, let us know. Look, I love getting things wrong. So, and I know you love correcting me out there, you listeners. So please do so. But it's been a great time. I really appreciate time tonight. Today for you, tonight for me. Thanks very much,
you bet.
James.
Cheers, Mark. All the best.
You too.